Characters make or break your story. And as a writer, creating well-defined, fleshed-out characters is one of the most important tools I have in my writing toolbox. Someone recently asked me about this. How do I keep characters from blending together? My name is Seth. I'm a full-time author who writes fantasy books, and I also make YouTube videos about being an author. If you like that sort of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to have a lot more like this. All right, let's answer the question. How do you keep yourself from mixing your different characters' personalities? This is a great question. And I've got 5 simple habits that I practice in order to try to keep all of my characters separate. I've got to add a disclosure here. This is not an easy thing to do. This is one of those tools that can really impact your writing, but if you never take the time to develop it, your writing is absolutely going to suffer. So, here are 5 simple ways that you can help make your characters really, really distinct. All 5 of these tools build on one another, so make sure you stick around and catch all of them because they're going to have a cumulative effect that's going to make your characters really pop off of the page. The first and most important thing that I do to make sure that my characters don't blend together is I give each character what I call a core concept. That core concept is very simple. It's just a single sentence that clearly identifies who the character is and gives some clue into their motivation. This is important because it's going to help you as the author keep all of your characters separate from each other. When I sit down to write, often I don't know what characters are going to show up where. I'm a pantser, and so as I write the story sort of comes to life. And not knowing exactly who's going to go where makes it even more important for me to have this clear understanding of who each character is. A good example of this might be if one of my characters stumbles into a crime scene. I want to make sure that not only are my characters distinct, but anybody else who walks into that scene, let's say a detective who's coming to investigate, or maybe a reporter who's catching them there. I want each of those characters to have a really clear sense of being. Sometimes, however, I don't know much about that character. We haven't discovered it yet. And so adding a core concept for them is all I really need in order to make sure that they're going to be distinct in my own mind. Because if they're distinct in my mind, then they're going to be distinct in the reader's mind as well. What is a core concept? A core concept, like I said, is just a single sentence that says, this is who the character is, and it hints at their motivations. So a great example of this is in Battlemage Farmer. My core concept for the main character, John, was a grizzled veteran with a hidden past. This works because it then colors every interaction that he has with other people. Why is his past hidden? Is he trying to hide something? Is he running from something? If he's a grizzled veteran, then the way he interacts with people is going to be distinct from, let's say, a naive young adventurer. With that simple core concept, that one sentence, I've already started the process of differentiating all of my characters. My second tool is to give my character a distinct style. Now, I'm not just talking about the way they dress. Too often, authors, especially new authors, try to make their characters stand out through describing the way they look. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But what is more effective is giving them a specific physical motion or a specific nuance to the way they look that makes them distinct from everybody else. So rather than saying, oh, this person is goth, and they dress like a goth, and all of their clothing is goth, that's not super helpful to the reader. That doesn't give them a really clear sense of who this is. But if instead we say this character always wears a bowler hat and nobody else wears a bowler hat, and so anytime that they are present in a scene, their bowler hat is going to be present in the scene as well, and we are going to see that as part of their character, that all of a sudden starts to build a specific image in the reader's head. And so every time they pop up, they're going to have that mental image of what this person looks like to go along with it. Similar to that, we have our third tip. And the third tip is give them a distinct style of communication. So we've already given them a core concept. We've added a distinct look to them, or a distinct motion to them. And now we're going to give them a distinct way of communicating. Everybody has a standard way that they communicate. Think of anybody you know. The way they speak, the way they respond to things is going to pop to mind. So, a great example of this is if someone is normally sarcastic, then you will expect sarcasm from them. If someone is normally stoic, you're going to expect stoicism from them. If someone is constantly cutting jokes, you're going to expect humor from them. This is helpful because by giving them a specific way of communicating, that voice that they have is going to stick into the reader's mind. And so anytime you have a scene where they are being themselves, it will naturally contrast with the people around them. Oh, that character is the funny one. Oh, that character is the stoic one. Now, we don't have to always use this style for them, but as long as a hint of that style is there, as long as that is the base, then their voice is going to be distinct in our writing. This brings us to our fourth tip, and this tip is where the magic really starts to happen. This is where we start to really make our characters pop. Our fourth tip is break your own rules. So we've just spent some time talking about our first tip, which is create a core concept, our second tip, which is create a style for the character, and our third tip, give them a specific way of communicating. But the fourth tip is selectively break those rules. How does this work? When you have a character who has a specific way of interacting, a specific way of looking, and a specific core concept, what's going to happen when you break that is it creates a memorable moment for the reader. And if that moment is memorable, they are going to remember that character. So, come on a journey with me. As a core concept, we have a high-flying socialite who always dresses to the nines. That's our core concept. Our style is that she simpers. She has a fan and she likes to put it in front of her face when she is mocking other people, very politely, of course. As for our distinct style of communication, she is always polite, but likes to gossip a little bit. And so will always throw little barbs and little jabs, not necessarily aimed at the person she's talking to, but at other people as well. And she is extremely good with her language. So how do we make this character distinct from every other socialite out there? We have her show up in a scene completely drenched, her clothing ripped, absolutely furious, not mincing words at all. And then, after we've broken our own rules, we have her go back to what she was. That character is going to be distinct. That character is going to be memorable. That character is going to stand out from all other characters. Why? Because she's not a set piece. She's a human. She gets mad and she breaks her own rules. She has inconsistency. Now, we don't want her to be inconsistent all the time. That would defeat the purpose and be totally confusing. Instead, we want her to be inconsistent once, or maybe twice, but really just once. And that's going to create someone who is very memorable, who sticks out, who isn't a perfect set piece. We're not creating background actors, we're creating people. So that's our fourth tip. Selectively break your own rules. This brings us to our fifth tip. Write as if you are listening, not as if you are speaking. What do I mean by this? Anytime you've been in a room that's full of other people who are talking, and you are listening to their conversation, it should be very clear that they do not speak with your voice. They do not speak in the way that you do. This is a little bit harder to communicate with writing, but it absolutely can be done. Our goal is to write the way that somebody else would speak in that situation. Somebody who has the core concept that we've given them, somebody who has the style that we've given them, and the way of communicating that we've given them, and someone who is feeling the emotions that is causing them to deviate slightly from the way we've designed them. This is going to help you avoid writing everybody in your own voice. Because as authors, we don't want to do that. We don't want to just write everybody as if it is us speaking. We want them to be vibrant, we want them to pop off the page, and most importantly, we want other people to be able to identify themselves with these characters. So remember, the 5 tools that we're going to use in order to create these vibrant characters are coming up with a core concept, giving them a unique style, giving them a specific way of communicating, judiciously breaking our own rules, and writing as if we are listening instead of speaking. In the comments below, let me know who your favorite fictional characters are and why it is that you fell in love with them. Remember, the more we write, the better we get. So if you are struggling with your characters, just keep at it. I promise you, it is worth it.